Good evening. This is Maestro Cotella with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite modcast. Today we have a 3v3 on Typhon Arena. Our first player today on the blue team is classy Brother Captain David, playing as the Grey Knight Bro Captain. Grey Knight Bro Captain is a tanky melee hero, starts off with a Force Sword and a Storm Bolter. He is in Terminator armor, so he cannot be suppressed or knocked down. Not so great as a melee counter early on, but he can get some pretty good psychic spells like Nemesis Vortex, Canticle of Absolution, etc. Next up, we got Winter Haven, playing as the Eldar Warlock. This little guy with a sword, although he's smaller than most of the other melee heroes, he can still be very crazy and very devastating. And you can choose to emphasize whether you want to make him more of a melee fighter, a melee tank, or an offensive spellcaster. Next up, we got 187 or 187 playing as the Eldar Farseer, another Eldar hero. This one fights in melee, but she definitely doesn't emphasize her fighting as much. She's more of a trick and spell casting hero. Her spells are focused a lot on buffing, debuffing, and disabling. Next up, we got Flash, playing as the Freebooters Orc Warboss. I don't think my voice sounds like a pirate at all, but I still love this pirate Warboss with the big pirate hat, the Orky Cutlass. The Warboss is a tanky melee hero as well, but he can get scared, so he can be suppressed and knocked down. However, he is so big that he can walk right through cover. Here he's engaging some strike squads, and he can also definitely tie things up and act as a melee counter as well. Next up, we got the Chaos Lord. The Chaos Lord is yet another tanky melee hero. This one is played by Chunda, and the Chaos Lord starts off with some decent range damage, better range damage than many of the other tanky melee heroes, by just a little bit actually. And he's also actually can even get better range damage when you have the Combi Flamer. Next up, we got Mowgli as the Commissar Lord about to go down. The Commissar Lord is a slightly tanky melee hero. Like, he doesn't have as much health as the full-on tanky melee heroes, but you definitely use him as a tie-up and primarily as a melee fighter. Maybe we could say he's a melee hero, but he's not as tanky. He can certainly do the damage. And he can also support his units by shooting them in the head. Alright, looks like a blue team came out on the better end of the initial engagements. They are basically just occupying the bottom, and of course on this map, Typhon Arena, and also its equivalent or similar map, Arena of Ashes, usually the middle player and the bottom player both fight down in the bottom right here, since there is this middle canyon. At the top, however, it actually looks like Red has won the initial engagement, Flash actually getting both of the northern VPs. David is coming back up, but he might be having a little trouble with such a small build. He's chosen to invest in war gears rather than getting a third squad out a little earlier, and he's actually choosing to make his third squad a power squad rather than a power-free squad. But he may be getting pushed back a little bit because of it, losing his engagements against Flash with his Warboss as well as his Shooter Boys and Sluggers. We got some Rangers. Rangers generally very good as an attrition damage unit against most races, actually, to be honest, and certainly against Chaos. Going to be very good against the Chaos Space Marines as well as the Havocs. Could potentially even force them off before the engagement even begins. And now this triple Dire Avenger build. Wow, we got triple Dire Avengers out of Winter Haven, double Dire Avengers into double Rangers out of 187. So a massive amount of ranged fire coming out of the both Eldar players, and there we go with a Ranger down. I mean, not a Ranger, a Chaos Space Marine down, and these Chaos Space Marines have not even engaged the Eldar yet. Meanwhile, we got Guardsmen pushing forward into Dire Avengers, but they're moving, so they were only doing half of their damage, or they had half accuracy, 50% accuracy, and overall, this actually is not looking so great for Mowgli. He's going in, and now he's only got double Guardsmen against triple Dire Avengers, and he tries to move out of the way, but he loses a squad, and just in that one grenade, he lost like six or so Guardsmen. So he's just trying to fight range blob on range blob, and Mowgli is, that is, and unfortunately, it really did not pay off for him. At least luckily for him, Chunda was there and managed to take out a Dire Avenger, but overall, I felt like Mowgli lost that pretty soundly. Well, now he actually did force them off. Again, a bit in part of the help of Chunda, although he also did it with his Catachan Devils, which are now bashing generators. We have some Havoc suppression on all these units, and now the Commissar is getting in there. That's actually pretty nice, getting the Commissar to follow up on some Havoc suppression. Meanwhile, back at the top, David is still, the front is still like right in front, right by the blue team natural VP. And David is still overall getting pushed back a little bit. Pain Boy now out for Flash, basically giving him another single entity melee unit, which is generally just a very powerful asset. We Are the Hammer has been activated, and we see a little speed increase on these units. Bro Captain now actually moving at normal speed, actually probably better than normal speed. I don't remember what the exact speed buff is for We Are the Hammer. Now he's got some purgations cleansing the Heretic with their Incinerator Flamers, suppressing this Pain Boy, and he does need to get out of there. Meanwhile, it looks like Red Team now has, at least they've managed to force off the Blue Team, but this double Ranger build could definitely be a pain in the ass for Chunda, since he can lose a Chaos Space Marine model just like that. And then, I mean, that's 66 requisition that he's going to need to reinforce, and Chunda is still keeping this squad in here, and he managed to not lose a model on that shot, but he will lose a model from the next shot. And that is definitely part of what can be powerful about Rangers. Just the attrition damage before engagement has even started. Meanwhile, Warboss is here. Unfortunately, he was not able to be suppressed by the Purgation, and I actually feel like, ooh, I don't like the position of these Stormtroopers being up front, even if they're in cover against the Shooter Boys. They're too squishy for that, and I feel like maybe the Strikes could have been up front, or the Strikes could have even charged the Shooter Boys, and then even the Purgations could have aggressively gone after the Shooter Boys as well with their flames, the area of effect damage, and the suppression, and then maybe the Stormtroopers could have actually been used to focus down the Warboss. Alright, over here we got a Chaos Lord. We also have Hollow Fields cloaking the entire Eldar army for 187. But now they open up, and then look at the damage that Chaos Lord is taking. Meanwhile, we got Grenade Launcher Heretics, which is potentially a good choice. I think probably actually a good choice against the Rangers, although you still have to be, definitely still have to be careful about the massive amount of range DPS coming out of. Wow, look at all that disruption. And didn't actually do that much damage, but just look at every single one of those units getting disrupted. And now look at these double Catachan Devils. Double Catachan Devil build from Mowgli, which is interesting. Somewhat unconventional, although I've seen a player like Leg use it to actually quite great effect. We also have a Commissar Flare, and Mowgli's definitely going to want to use a lot of those as much as he can in order to deal with the massive range blob coming out from the two bottom Eldar players, because that will turn the tide in the favor of the red team at the bottom. So double Catachan build is a little unexpected, but there are definitely some things you can do with it. First of all, he's got access to 2 old reliables, and he can use that to disrupt twice. And while he's disrupting twice, he can use his guardsmen, as well as Chunda can help out to DPS down all those units and basically do a lot of damage to them while they're on the ground. And can't do anything back. We have another grenade attempt. This one is a swing and a miss. We have another grenade getting one model. We also have the Immolator Blade against the on the Warlock, which is usually, I'd say it's often a go-to purchase for the Warlock against Imperial Guard. It just gives him that area of effect, fire damage ability, and in tier 1, which is very nice. And then you have the combination of that and Destructor, and that's usually pretty good for for area of effect against Imperial Guard. Now we have Flash is going over here, deciding to engage David. I was actually going to say he should continue bashing the power right here, because I think he really could have taken out the whole farm, and I think taking out the whole farm would have been, it definitely would have been a lot better than just taking out the node and a single generator. And he chose to commit to this engagement, and maybe he can win the engagement and then continue to bash, but at the same time he might not. And I still feel like he could have continued the bash right there. And actually it does look like he's winning this engagement. But his Storm Boys are getting a little bit low on health, only 3 out of 5 models. Might want to get them out of there, especially while he's winning the engagement good. He jumps them out and probably going to retreat them. Yeah, you don't want to lose too many Storm Boy models for how relatively expensive they are, compared to how easily they can die. It's really not worth it to lose too many Storm Boy models. Storm Boy bleed is, I think, really something that, if you don't manage it, that can lock you out of Tier 3. But Flash actually did not manage to finish off this power farm, so I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity. Meanwhile, we now have a vehicle out. Winterhaven only going with the Triple Dire Avengers in Tier 1, and now he already has a Wraith Lord with a Shuriken Cannon, and there is no way the Chaos Lord is going to be able to fight against that by himself. Needs to just get out of there. Needs to retreat now, or just get out of there before he dies. Meanwhile, we do have a bunch of Guardsmen and Catachan Devils fighting right here. Catachan Devils need to be very careful. There is some Old Reliable to disrupt, and I think they need to be very careful about this this Wraith Lord. Now, since this Wraith Lord was so early, there is no AV on the field at present to actually deal with it. Chunda is going for a Plague Marine squad by itself. That's probably not going to be enough. Wow, about four Guardsman models die from a grenade in retreat. I think the Plague Marines by themselves probably usually not enough, especially if they can get tied up or just otherwise forced off. Plague Marines are not a high DPS source of AV, mainly useful for their durability, the fact that they snare, and also their relative mobility compared to, say, a setup team, even though they're so incredibly slow. And there is still nothing right here that can actually fight this Wraith Lord. Chunda should not be putting his Raptors up against the Wraith Lord because he does not want to bleed Raptor models. Ooh, and those double Ranger shots, again, being very, very devastating. Both cloaked, now uncloaked. Alright, back up here. We got a big engagement going down. We got Tier 2 weapons and upgrades and units. We have Purifiers for David. I still think the Purifiers do not want to fight head-to-head with the Storm Boys. The Sluggers are gone, but the Storm Boys are still in here. Storm Boys actually jump out, but the consequence of that is that they actually scare off the Strike Squad and the Stormtroopers, because they straight, unlike the Purifiers, they definitely will lose to the Storm Boys. I mean, the Purifiers are a better melee unit, but the Strike and the Stormtroopers absolutely cannot. Here we have a Warlock getting in way over his head, using some Immolate, burning a lot of those Guardsmen and staring them out of there. And now we have the Plague Marines taking some shots, but taking way too much damage already. 2 models down. Look at all the health they lost. And here we go with a Singularity, possibly to catch the Plague Marines on retreat. I think it's going to be a little late. Oh, it actually gets them in, but it just doesn't do enough because these Plague Marines are a little too tough. Singularity, very, very good against high model, low HP squads like Guardsmen, Dire Avengers, etc. Not as good against something that is quite a bit tougher like Plague Marines. Now, it's only a single cap for the red team, and they actually have 498 VPs. They have not lost too many VPs, despite, I feel like, in the early game, Winterhaven and 187 were doing pretty well in the bottom. Now we have a Manticore out for Mowgli. Another thing that Mowgli could do, which he has already done, to help out with the AV, is that he actually got the, I forget what this particular leader is called, the Veteran Sergeant or whatever, basically the Melt-A-Gun member for the Catachan Devils, which, even though it's not that oh, here's a warp throw. Maybe a grenade? No? Oh, there are the grenades. I think maybe a little bit late, and actually only take out 2 models. So that was actually a huge missed opportunity. Just really could have gone for a grenade right after that. I think if it was someone like Asmon or Wurgle, those grenades would have been a lot faster and taken out a lot more. But in any case, we do have the Melt-A-Gun model on both Catachan squads, which I think it's not a whole lot because it's only 1 Melt-A-Gun on each Catachan Devil squad, but it just helps out by having multiple sources of AV, especially since there already is that Plague Marine squad. And if both of them can follow up after a Plague Marine shot, that can actually definitely threaten the Wraith Lord. And it also just, again, part of the issue with, part of the reason to get multiple sources of AV is that once you have a source of AV, that becomes a prime target for your opponent to either force it off or tie it up. If you have multiple sources of AV, it's a lot harder for them to tie it up because they need to tie up or force off multiple units, and it's exponentially harder than just having to tie up or force off one. Oh! And we just have some bombs going off. That was kind of funny. Manticore Strike going in, possibly going to scare off these Dire Avengers. They need to get out of there. They just retreat, and you know, that was actually a good retreat, because if they had just tried to run away there, they actually would have been hit straight up by that Manticore Strike. Meanwhile, over here, we got a fight with the Orcs against the Grey Knights again. We now have an Orc Transport, the War Truck. Warboss also has the Cyborg implants, getting the Power Claw. And I actually feel, oh no, 2 grenades! And, I mean, Flash is trying to reinforce from his War Truck, but I think he's, some of these Shooter Boy squads are just getting in too close. Yeah, one of those Shooter squads just went down from the Purifiers, just getting in there. And, unfortunately, Flash actually just really did not win that engagement. And it looks like maybe 187 helped out a bit, and that was ultimately not a good oh, and he lost the Pain Boy. Where did the Pain Boy go? It was dead right here, I think. But ultimately not a good engagement for Flash. Losing a Shooter Boy squad, losing the Pain Boy, and even for the squads that he didn't lose, he definitely bled models. Not on the Storm Boy, unless he also had a knob. But I mean, on these Sluggers right here, he definitely bled some models. And I mean, he's trying to use the reinforcement capability from the War Truck, but unfortunately, he still did not manage it correctly, and some of his squads just took too much damage from that. And even his, oh man, they're getting, I think they're actually, the Sluggers were getting disrupted a little bit by the overcharge ability from the Inquisitorial Stormtrooper Plasma Gun. And now that was, I think that was, wow. The red team definitely taking things pretty handily. I mean, Flash got doubled, and that was a bit of a problem for him. But the players on the bottom took advantage of that to move into the bottom, got a full power bash over here, and even captured the natural power node for the blue team. So 187 chose the double, and they definitely hurt Flash a bit, but as a consequence, they lost the bottom. So now we have the Wraith Lord moving in. This Manticore getting a little too close, I think. Here are some double improvised explosives. When is he going to set them off? Is he going to set them off right there? He sets one off. And now they're opening fire, but they need to micro a little bit more. They can't just stand there right there blobbed up with the Wraith Lord coming at them. One of them needs to micro, or both of them need to micro. Now they just straight up need to get out of there. Grenades going in. Wraith Lord's still getting hit. There's still an IED right here. All right, back over here. We now see a Chaos Predator out from Chunda. Going to be taking some shots maybe at this Purgation squad. Actually, it's taking shots at the Bro Captain. The Bro Captain fully upgraded with the Nemesis Warding Staff, the Blessed Aegis, and the Unending Purge. So he's got a lot of health regeneration coming out of the Unending Purge and the Blessed Aegis, as well as this Nemesis Warding Staff, a high damage weapon, and it's also just going to give him that ward ability, which is a defensive bonus. Alright, Winterhaven answering back here. Winterhaven has not bought anything after this Wraith Lord, so he went straight to Tier 3, now getting a Fire Prism, and he is floating a massive, massive requisition. He should rebuild pretty much, he should pretty much be the one rebuilding for the power for his team, since he has no power himself, and 187 should maybe focus on getting like an Avatar or something. There we go! Oh my god, that's a lot of Guardsmen! So D-cannon shots followed up by grenades. I think the grenades actually missed, and it's a triple cap for the red team, and they had a massive VP lead, 498 to 168. IED there gets targeted because the Rangers are there to detect. 187 still with his double Rangers. Oh man, need to be really, really careful about these double D-cannons, and as well as the Farseer with the Armor of the Osirian, giving her the time field ability. And wow, the Chaos Predator nearly died from that, and this is a Nurgle Predator, so it actually had more health. And wow, I mean, these double D-cannons absolutely tearing apart these Guardsmen and these Catachan Devils. Alright, back up here, we got the Weird Boy running around. Looks like Flash lost another unit. Oh, he lost his War Truck. Also lost his Warboss, which is not as good. Warboss, yeah, just stuck down there. Kind of sad. Blue team moving back in. Maybe they'll finally get a double cap and get some more VPs. It looks like they are about to get a double cap. They only have 118 VPs left. And now we have a Fire Prism out for Winterhaven. The Fire Prism, such a great unit in really any matchup. It's going to be very good. Oh, here's an Imperial Abyss. And the Imperial Abyss is not doing a whole lot. Yeah, Imperial Abyss, a tricky nuke to use these days. You either need to get you really just either need to get units to run right through the center, or you need to be able to pin them in the center somehow, or you can just use it in the base where they can't retreat. It's actually probably the best way to use the Imperial Abyss at the moment. Alright, meanwhile up here we have a weird boy taking shots at some strikes. Just taking out a nice chunk of their health, about 300 damage with that hit. And the weird boy's moving forward a little bit. Needs to be careful. He can still take some shots, and I think he just needs to make sure that as soon as anyone starts advancing toward him, he needs to back off, because right now he's unsupported. Here comes some Storm Boys and some Shooter Boys to support. Warboss, unfortunately, still down on the ground. Meanwhile, back over here, I hear more Ranger shots doing more attrition damage. This Wraithlord is missing repair support. There we go. It looks like we have a Singularity behind. We also have that Time Field. The Singularity, not going to do much. Unfortunately, not a well-placed Singularity. And we have, ooh, the Plague Marines taking too much damage at this point. Plague Marines might actually go down right here. All right, they won't go down, but that was still just kind of pushing it. He really just wanted to go after this Wraithlord. Now, is that what I think it is? That it was the Emperor's Wrath from the Commissar, and I was afraid that was actually going to wipe that entire Ranger squad, but they did try to retreat out of there. I think with no retreat, it would have wiped them. Here we go with the Let the Galaxy Burn on those D cannons. Where is that? Yeah, I was wondering, where is that Chaos Lord? So Flash now struggling quite a bit, and that could be something that might turn the game a bit back in the blue team's favor, since now they might even be able to threaten the triple cap for a little bit. And oh no, Manticore Strike on his own units? Alright, not on his own units. But that was, that scared me for a second. And this Nurgle Predator, very interesting to see it, even though it's been changed a bit to try to make it a little more useful. The Nurgle Predator, still a relatively rare choice. Some of the things it can do now is it actually passively regenerates health. Here's an Eldritch Storm on all these units, missing most things. I think it got a hit on the Chaos Predator. Yeah, it got a hit on the Chaos Predator, so now the Predator, the effect of an Eldritch Bolt is the same as a Haywire in that it snares as well as disables weapons. But anyway, the Chaos Predator, Nurgle Predator, it does damage over time in an area. Can still do some AV damage, but not nearly as much as a Vanilla Predator, a Las Cannon Predator, or a Corn Predator. It has more health, lower speed, and even a resistance to melee damage. Here we go with the rocks, right on top of the Terminator Librarian. Can the Librarian get out of there? Looks like he's just going to be just fine. He actually gets knocked back. Now the Terminator Librarian not in such good shape, but overall there's some problems with this. I'm a little bit scared for the. I'm definitely scared for this Grey Knight Dreadnought. All right, Knobs do get out of there, and we also have a Commissar Flare, so some aid from Mowgli with some nice awareness up top to help out David. And now that there's no AV around for Mowgli, David's just pushing forward with that Dreadnought. And he's actually going to get at least a decap on top, maybe even a double cap. And here we go with more Manticore Strikes, or maybe that was even another Emperor's Wrath. Some Let the Galaxy Burn, halting the approach of these dire Avengers. But man, this attrition and long-range damage coming out of the Eldar right now from 187. He's got so many long-range weapons, and wow, Winterhaven even has some himself. They've got quadruple D-cannons total. We have the Fire Prism, and we have double Rangers. Two squads of level 4 Rangers. Two squads of level 4 Rangers, and it's going to be... this tank is eventually going to die. In fact, it's probably going to die sooner rather than later. I think one more D-cannon shot is enough to finish it. And there it goes. There's that D-cannon shot. And, I mean, I'm not even entirely sure what they're going to do about this. Ooh, maybe that's what they're going to do. They're going to use a Manticore Strike, take out one of the D-cannons. And, I mean, some slow reactions from Winterhaven right there. And I was just, like, wondering, how are they going to deal with this? There was a Singularity. Oh, my God, look at all those dead Guardsmen. What else did it take out right there? Dead Guardsmen. So many dead Guardsmen. I wish I had caught it a little more. But, I mean, that was incredible. Now it's actually a double cap for the blue team. And we even have Knobs out for Flash. But, I mean, he's lost a lot of stuff. might want to buy his Warboss back, or he might just be saving up for other units. But I mean, David is really just amassing things. He's still in tier 2. He's not even to tier 3 yet. He's upgrading. And he decides to upgrade to a melee dreadnought, which I think is not a bad idea. Helps him deal with the knobs a little bit. Get some WWs up there. Webways, I'm guessing that means. Webways. Webways. At first I was thinking whirlwind. Alright, here we go with... Ooh, so Chunda actually switches lanes. He's a little understrength himself, especially compared to David. But they're just bringing in 2 armies right here to try to deal with David. And David just straight up gives it up. Ooh, that's... Unfortunately, I don't know about the decision to just give it up like that. Because that might be the end of this Dreadnought. Yeah, you know what? I don't see this Dreadnought getting out of here. With the combination of... Ooh, Manticore strikes to... Well, that was a Manticore strike to try to finish off the Dreadnought. But if anything... that may have actually saved the Dreadnought. But I feel like the combination of the Plague Marines, the Knobs, and the Autocannon should have been the end of this Dreadnought. Ooh, and we even have some Catachan Devils. They're actually really going for it. Is there an Emperor's Fist or Wrath? And now we just need some more follow-up, and wow, he just gets him out of there. Is this going to be a Wailing Doom, Wailing Doom, Wailing Doom? Oh, man. No, maybe he couldn't because he was in the time field.
The enemy has 200 points remaining.
Wow, and look, the VP is now starting to really go back in favor of the blue team, although the red team about to get a double cap because they got the top. And that's actually potentially going to force movement. Blue team only holding the bottom right now, and they're about to actually get a double cap against them on top. This Dreadnought, I feel like, really needs to be careful. It is getting some repairs from the Stormtroopers, but it just took another missile hit. Need to be really, really careful with that. Need to tie up these Plague Marines and just not let them shoot at the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought is can still definitely be very valuable. Is this going to be an Eldritch Storm? Yes, it is. Oh, man. So a lot of things dying right now. This could also be really bad for Chunda because he might have a retreat path through all of this. And there's a Manticore strike. Oh my god, taking out some kind of Grey Knight stuff. But Chunda's going to maybe lose this Heretic. It actually just got some health back. But man, I actually feel like they could have lost more stuff from that. Not enough retreat killing in my opinion. I like retreat killing. And the Autocannon Havoc right here. Unfortunately, the Terminator Librarian does manage to close the distance, and he gets in on that Havoc and just sync kills one of their members. Here now we got some Flash gets out, killing one of those revealed webways. Alright, blue team at least going to be able to manage to get the decap, but the Librarian needs to get the hell out of there before he's dead. I don't think he's going to die. Is he? It's close. It's really, really close. Alright, he's just fine. Here we go with some more Manticore strikes. And double fire prisms from Winterhaven. I mean, I guess the red team kind of gave up on the bottom because of all of the long-range Eldar weapons we have right here. Absolutely ridiculous. Hard to even get toward them without just being murdered on approach. And here we go with, oh my god! I mean, it's just the combination, yeah, I mean, just one Guardsman Squad already gone. The combination, because then the Fire Prism knocks them over, and then the D-Cannon is doing a lot of the damage. Oh man. So D-Cannon's now taking definitely now taking some losses, and that could be enough to scare them off to base. I mean, with this much health left and no energy shield, these D-Cannons could now possibly get wiped by a Manticore. And the Manticores are right here. Mowgli does not have sight on them at the moment, but I mean, if he can get a Manticore shot on them now, but oh, so 187 decides to get them back to base. But that could potentially be an opportunity, but there's still double fire prisms and one more D-Cannon. We got some infiltrated purifiers, but now they have been detected. They just get in right here, working on the Havocs, and the Havocs for Chunda are going to get wiped. He did not see those purifiers fast enough. We even have some heretics right here. Oh, a rocket run. That's going to take out so much Eldar stuff. Ooh, and that rocket run could have been even better. But wait, oh man, look at the losses that he's taking right now. That Manticore Strike, can it finish off this Ranger? And it does finish off that Ranger. Oh my god. So 187 just lost like at least 3 squads, if not 4. I think just 3. But man, he lost things. The rocket run. But I don't know what the deal is with the way some people use the rocket run. Like, use it once, like use the first hit, and then put the second hit where the first hit is gonna send them. It's yeah, I don't entirely understand the way some people use the rocket run, because they use it one time, they get a good first hit, and then they have some weird ass angle. And I mean, that one was at least with that angle that they had that time, they were still able to follow up and hit like about 3 of the other, so still hit 3 of those squads, but could have just hit all of them, all 4 of the squads that were in there. And we got some Manticores that are actually being threatened by Dire Avengers. These Dire Avengers, what they would actually want to do right now, if they really want to take out this Manticore, they actually should have force melee, because they're really doing very, very close to 0 damage with their shuriken catapults. They would actually be doing better damage if they force melee that Manticore. And with how little Manticore that has, with how little health this Manticore has left, as well as how long they were standing there just shooting at it, they may have actually been able to take out this Manticore by hitting it with hitting it in melee.
An ally has taken a victory point.
But Chunda has taken big losses as well. Lost his Havoc, lost his Heretics. He's only got a squad of Raptors, as well as Plague Marines, and this Land Raider Phobos. Land Raider Phobos trying to go in for a flank against all of this Eldar long-range artillery. I think. Maybe. Yep, he's moving down here for a flank. And I mean, that would actually be very, very powerful. He actually needs to be careful. I think going at this particular angle could be dangerous. I think if he actually went around here and then down here, and he would really, really... And he's actually switching that way. All right, and he needs his... he might even take out both Fire Prisms and maybe even the Wraith Lord. I think it's time for the Raptors maybe to jump in. Raptors jump in so that they don't get disrupted. But 1 Fire Prism down. Raptors should jump in and melt us something, I think. Because the vehicles, they want to take out the vehicles. So we have Raptors jumping, doing nothing, not using their Melt-A-Bomb. They have the energy and they just get forced off. That was kind of sad. But we might still have a dead D-Cannon right here. Dead D-Cannon, dead D-Cannon, dead D-Cannon. All right, next we need the Fire Prism. The Fire Prism needs to go down as well. But we also have a Time Field and an Eldritch. Oh, that's absolutely terrible for Chunda. The main thing is, oh no. This could actually be the end of the Fire Prism right here. But actually, I mean, not the Fire Prism, the Land Raider Phobos. That's actually definitely the end of the Land Raider Phobos. So this was a nice idea, but that Eldritch Storm really put an end to that strategy by Chunda. And here we go with an Imperial Abyss to answer back, but that's not really a good answer. It does not actually do much at all. And these Flash Kits might actually want to switch to Blastas, because right now I believe they're still doing piercing damage, which is not optimal versus the Avatar. They would be doing psychic damage. Can we get a Wailing Doom right here? Wailing Doom on retreat. A little slow, but I think he'll still get it. There we go. Alright, 2-to-1 cap. We're going to have a Emperor's Wrath, followed up by some Manticore Strikes. Might even take out the D-Cannon. No, it does not take out the D-Cannon, but still doing a lot of damage. And the Chaos Lord's still coming in for the flank. And the blue team still, they need to capture this point. Need these Dire Avengers to capture the point. We might have some of these IEDs go off, as well as this Chaos Lord getting in here. He's infiltrated. We have an infiltrated Chaos Lord. I'm not even sure by what. Yep, now! Yes, yes.
But he is not yet beaten.
That was nice. Alright, now this is actually... This might seem like a bad idea, but at the same time it's not. Now, normally the Cast Lord would definitely not win against the Avatar, but he can do a lot of damage to the Avatar. This is terrible! Catachan Devils in a lot of trouble. Oh man. Catachan Devils getting very, very close to dying. That's going to be so much reinforcement cost for Mowgli, actually. Here's something else. This is going to be another Eldritch Storm, and it's a double cap for the blue team, and I think they're finally going to take this. Alright, wow. And there was at some point where it was something like 498 VPs for the red team and only about 170 for the blue team, and they brought it back. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.